deal with staked Ethereum, right? You lock it up, you earn rewards, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's locked up, stuck.
Exactly.
What if you could keep getting those rewards, but still actually use your ETH?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? That trade-off.
Yeah, and it's exactly what this whole concept of yield-bearing liquid ETH is trying to fix. So let's unpack that today.
Absolutely. That tension, yield versus access, it's a core thing for anyone staking. And today we're diving into one project, StakeStone, and how they're trying to crack this nut.
Right. We've been looking through their stuff, specifically these bits from yield-bearing liquid ETH StakeStone.
Mm-hmm.
The goal here is really to get to the heart of what they're building. How do they actually plan to make this work?
Well, what's interesting, right from the start, is their ambition.
Yeah.
They're not just aiming for, another staking pool or something simple.
Huh.
They talk about creating a yield-bearing liquid asset that could withstand the challenges of time.
Okay, withstand the challenges of time. That definitely sounds bigger, more resilient.
It does. And the core of it is their liquid ETH asset. They call it Stone.
Stone. Okay, so a version of your staked ETH that you can actually move around, use it.
That's the idea. And what's really helpful is how they define what makes an asset like this truly liquid. They've actually got 6 key criteria.
6 criteria. Okay, that gives us a framework. Let's go through them. What's the first one?
Transparency. They really stress this non-custodial approach.
Non-custodial. So practically, what does that mean if I'm holding ETH?
It means you keep control of your underlying ETH. You're not just handing it over.
Oh, okay.
They're aiming for something that's fully on-chain and governed on-chain. They even compared it a bit to MakerDAO,
Like MakerDAO.
Yeah.
In terms of seeing everything on the blockchain.
Exactly. So the processes, the staking routes, it's all visible. You can see how it's being managed.
Got it. So you can see where the yield is actually coming from. Okay, what's next? Criterion 2.
True liquidity, and lots of projects talk about liquidity.
Right. Everyone says liquid. What's StakeStone's specific take? They mention deep and efficient omnichain liquidity.
Yeah, omnichain is key there. They're not just talking liquidity on one chain.
Okay.
Their vision includes easy redemption with minimal price impact. And, get this, potentially instant withdrawals on any chain.
Instant withdrawals on any chain.
Yeah.
With no lockup.
That's the goal. It's a pretty big step up from typical staking lockups.
Whoa! Okay, how does that even work? Instant withdrawals across different networks. That sounds challenging. Are there fees, delays?
Well, this is where their design gets quite innovative. They talk about dynamically allocating some of the ETH to something called Native's PMM lending pool.
PMM, proactive market maker.
Exactly. It sort of anticipates trading demand. So by putting some ETH there, they enable market makers to offer that immediate exit liquidity for Stone holders.
So the liquidity is kind of pre-positioned.
Pretty much, across multiple chains. The aim is to balance that instant access with, still getting good yield on the rest of the staked ETH.
Clever. Okay, that makes sense. So that's true liquidity. What's number 3?
Number 3 is omnichain accessibility. Kind of builds on the last point.
Right, being everywhere.
Precisely. They want Stone and its price feed to just work smoothly across lots of different blockchains.
So not just moving it, but interacting with it wherever.
Yeah. And enabling dynamic adjustments, even covering transaction costs, sometimes through an adaptive staking network.
Adaptive staking network.
Interesting. The whole point is broad access, easy transactions, and crucially consistent price info wherever you are in DeFi using Stone.
Makes sense. If it's truly liquid, it needs to be useful everywhere.
Okay, criterion 4 is adaptability. Sounds like future-proofing.
Absolutely. They're not tying Stone just to Ethereum's current proof of stake.
Oh.
They mention compatibility with multiple consensus mechanisms, things like restaking, decentralized sequencing. They even mentioned AI. Wait, AI as a consensus mechanism? How would that even work? That sounds speculative.
Well, yeah, the specifics on AI aren't fully laid out here, but the key seems to be their unique modular architecture.
Modular architecture,
Yeah.
like building blocks.
Exactly. Think of it like this. They've separated the part that creates Stone, the minter contract, from the part that manages the yield strategies, the strategy vault.
Okay, so you can swap out the strategy part.
That's the idea. It lets them potentially plug into new yield sources. They mention things like eigenlayer, symbiotic, aura, decentralized sequencing, depin, all these emerging areas.
Without changing the core Stone asset itself.
Right. So imagine some new super efficient yield thing pops up on another chain, maybe using a totally different system.
Yeah.
This modular design means Stone could potentially tap into that yield without you, the holder, having to manually unstake, bridge, restake, all that hassle.
Huh. That's quite flexible. Okay, so that's adaptability, which leads to number 5.
Optimization. This builds on the modularity. They talk about a decentralized portfolio strategy.
Decentralized portfolio. So not just tied to one staking method or one set of validators.
Exactly. It allows for, as they put it, effortless reallocation of liquidity to chase the best staking yields available.
So Stone holders could potentially benefit from like the highest yield across the whole ecosystem at any given time, not just one fixed source.
That seems to be the goal. And they mention flexibility for Stone holders to see and maybe influence switching these underlying portfolios.
Interesting. That could seriously boost potential returns.
Yeah.
Okay, one more criterion, number 6.
Consistency. This is all about stability and reliability for Stone.
Right, making sure it just works.
Yeah. They emphasize that upgrades to the system or changing the underlying assets generating yield won't mess with the Stone that's already out there circulating.
How do they ensure that?
Again, it comes back to that modular design and how they rebalance things. This consistency is vital, they argue, for integrating smoothly with other DeFi apps.
Like using it as collateral or in liquidity pools.
Exactly. And for rewards to accrue properly on layer 2s, and importantly, for getting institutions and, everyday users comfortable with it.
And they list a bunch of uses too, don't they? Beyond just DeFi pools.
Oh, yeah. They mention providing liquidity, IMOs, payments, even using Stone as collateral on centralized exchanges. CeDeFi, they call it.
CeDeFi, okay. So bridging that gap.
It seems so. The big picture goal, really, is for Stone to become this kind of universal standard for liquid ETH.
A universal standard. That's bold.
It is. Something that empowers users, other protocols. They see it as a potential cornerstone for DeFi.
Embodying all those principles.
Yeah.
Transparency, liquidity, adaptability.
And stability, yeah. But also reaching beyond just crypto-native uses into perhaps real-world business cases eventually.
It's a very broad vision. And you mentioned their documents cover more than just these 6 principles.
Oh, definitely. We've focused on the core ETH product, Stone, but they briefly touch on SBTC, and Stone BTC sounds like liquid Bitcoin equivalents.
Applying the same idea to Bitcoin.
Seems like it. Plus, something called StoneFi, which includes Stone pools and a liquidity pad. And Stone Pay is apparently coming soon.
So a whole ecosystem.
Yeah, and governance details how you convert Stone, lock it, vote with it, tokenomics, then developer resources, APIs, security audits, risks, legal terms, even airdrop info. It was quite comprehensive.
Gives you a sense of the scale they're aiming for.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try and wrap our heads around this. StakeStone wants to create Stone, this liquid ETH asset. Lets you earn yield, but keeps your ETH accessible.
Yeah.
And their whole strategy seems built on these 6 pillars.
Right. Transparency, seeing how it works, true liquidity, easy access across chains using clever mechanics, omnichain accessibility, working everywhere smoothly.
Then adaptability ready for future tech, optimization, chasing the best yields flexibly, and consistency, making it stable and reliable for broad use.
Exactly. They're really trying to solve that core staking problem. Yield versus flexibility. These 6 areas are their proposed solution for a more flexible, maybe more rewarding way to hold staked ETH.
It definitely tackles a real pain point. So, thinking about all this, it brings up a question for you listening. The DeFi world keeps getting more complex, right? More ways to stake, restake, earn yield.
It's constantly changing.
So how might a truly liquid, adaptable asset like Stone, if it works as described, how might that change the way you think about managing your own ETH, your strategy for growing it?
Yeah, what impact could that kind of flexibility and optimization have?
Definitely something to chew on.